For the best prices and service on Pokemon TCG singles and products, check out ccgcastle.com and use promo code Evolutionaries-5 for 5% off your next order.
Hello Pokemon fans, I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries, and today we are back with another Deck Tech Thursday. This time we're going to be taking a look at a deck that's gotten pretty popular with the release of Sun and Moon. It looks to be a very good deck. It has a lot of strengths if it sets up properly, and it's definitely tough to take down once it gets going. And that deck is going to be based around Lapras GX. This deck is known as basically Lapras GX Waterbox. There are a couple of different attackers in this deck. A couple things you can do with it, and it's very, very powerful. There's no doubt about that. It is a good deck, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it does on Battle Frontier Friday. Not tomorrow, but next Friday against whatever end decides to build. Also, I just want to point out, if you guys are looking to build this deck for yourself, you can get all the singles that you are looking for this deck at ccgcastle.com. Definitely a great place to go for that. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this deck profile. So we have 3 copies of Lapras GX. Now, Lapras GX has 3 attacks. The first attack is actually not even an attack at all. It's just a attack called Collect. Draw 3 cards, so you're not doing any damage, but for 1 water energy, it's a good attack if you're going second in the game. It allows you to set up a little bit better. Then its second attack is the one we're going to focus on more than anything. Blizzard Burn for 160 damage, and this Pokemon cannot attack during your next turn. Now, that sounds really bad, but with a combination of a few different things, it actually is very, very good. Then our GX attack is Ice Beam GX. It does 100 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So that's pretty powerful. Even if you can only use it once per game, sometimes it is really clutch to be able to use it in the right circumstance. But this is our main attacker for the game, and there are 3 of those Lapras GX. Now, the one thing about 160 is you're not going to be knocking out really anything with it. But the good news is that we do have another water type attacker that can come in, sweep up the damage, and, well, get you some extra prizes. And that's going to be Articuno from Roaring Skies. We've got 2 copies of this guy, and you're going to be focusing on that second attack, which is Tri-Edge. 20 damage, and then you flip 3 coins, and it does 40 more damage for each heads. So you're going to sweep up the damage left over from Lapras GX's Blizzard Burn, and you're going to be able to knock something out with Articuno. The nice thing about Articuno is that it has Delta Plus as its ancient trait. If the opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack of this Pokemon, you take 1 more prize card. So if you knock out an EX or a GX, you're going to take 3 prize cards as opposed to 2. And if you're knocking out a non-GX or EX with this, you're going to be taking 2 prizes instead of 1. So all you really have to do is set up 2 Blizzard Burns and 2 Tri-Edges on a GX, on a couple of GXs or EXs, and you're winning the game. It's really, really just unbelievable how good this can be. But there are a couple other attackers here as well. We also have ourselves a Glaceon EX, because evolution decks are becoming more and more popular. Crystal Ray does 70 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from evolution Pokemon. So that's pretty good. Also, if you happen to have to come in and sweep up after Lapras with this bad boy, you can hit Second Bite for a water and a colorless, does 20 damage plus 10 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So if they already have 160 damage on them, you're dealing 180 with Second Bite. You're wiping out anything at this point without any issues at all. If you just don't happen to have enough energy set up on Articuno, or if you don't have Articuno out at all, you can always come in and sweep with Second Bite, or Crystal Ray also prevents opponent's evolution Pokemon from attacking you. So that's pretty interesting. Also, if you're looking for a wall to set up with behind while you're powering up your Lapras or your Articuno, then you can sit behind Tauros GX. This is a great card. Rage, this attack does 10 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon for double colorless, basically. Horn Attack for 60, and Mad Bull GX, 30 damage times 30 more damage for each damage counter on Tauros GX. So this is going to punish your opponent for attacking you, and that is pretty good. I mean, you can set up behind it. They're not going to want to put any damage on it because they know they're going to get hit hard, whether it's with Rage or Mad Bull GX. Now, what makes this deck really good is that we have access to Manaphy EX. Now, Manaphy EX has a great ability, Aqua Tube. Now, each of your Pokemon that has any water energy attached to it has no retreat cost. So all you have to do is just attach a water energy to Tauros or Glaceon or Articuno or Lapras, and you're retreating for free, which is why we have 2 of them in here. In case one of them gets prized, we've got 2 copies of Manaphy EX in order to make sure that you're able to retreat for free. Also, we do have 2 copies of Shaymin EX because setup is still a great ability and being able to drop to 6 cards is fantastic no matter what. And if they Lysander it up, well, you attach a water energy and retreat with Manaphy. No big deal. Garb shuts it down, but that's about it. All right, that's it for Pokemon. Let's take a look at our supporters here. So our first draw supporter, of course, is going to be 4 copies of Professor Sycamore. Pretty standard in any deck. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Best draw supporter in the game, always will be, as long as we have a card like it in the format. Also, we have 2 copies of N. Each player shuffles his or her hand into his or her deck, then each player draws a card for each of the remaining prize cards. So again, helps you set up, it helps you early game, and it also can help you late game get your opponent down to a small hand size if you're behind. So it's kind of like a double thing there, but there's only 2 of them in this deck. We also have 2 copies of Lysander, being able to switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with one of their actives, with their active, I should say. That's always good because we want to start hitting EXs and GXs more than anything with Blizzard Burn so we can come in and sweep with Articuno. That's the important thing. We also have 1 copy of Professor Kukui. Draw 2 cards during this turn. Your opponent's attacks, or I'm sorry, your Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness and resistance. So this 160 turns into 180, and with Fighting Fury Belt, it'll turn into 190, which we'll get into here in just a minute. But for now, we're going to focus on the rest of the cards. We've got 4 copies of VS Seeker, really standard at any rate with any of the decks these days. Search your discard pile for a supporter card, show it to your opponent, put it into your hand. Helps you get back anything that you've thrown away. So 4 copies of that. We also have 4 copies of Ultra Ball because it's the best way of searching out a Pokemon. Discard 2 cards from your hand and then get a Pokemon out of your deck, reveal it, put it into your hand. Also helps you get your hands down to a smaller size so you're able to Shaymin for more cards. Also, we've got 4 copies of Trainer's Mail. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a trainer card you find there, except for Trainer's Mail. Put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. So this will help you get anything that you haven't been able to draw into so far. It's a good card for that. Also, we've got 4 copies of Max Elixir. Again, we're talking about a high energy cost attack. 3 energies is pretty bulky on these 2 Pokemon, 3 for this one as well. So we really want to start getting energy out as fast as possible, and this right now is the best accelerator for it. Now, when Guardians Rising drops, we're going to suddenly have access to Aqua Patch, which is going to be even better for this deck. That is when this deck just gets absolutely nuts, and I think it's going to be one of the best decks in the format after Aqua Patch comes into play. Which Aqua Patch, by the way, is you attach a water energy from your discard pile to one of your water Pokemon. I mean, look at this. This deck was made for Aqua Patch. Another way to get the energy across the board is to energy switch. So we can max Elixir to something on the bench, and then we can switch it with energy switch. 4 copies of that. Move a basic energy from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. That's always a good strategy to go for when we're trying to get a lot of energy moved around. We also have 3 copies of Fighting Fury Belt because it is the best tool card for this deck. The attacks do 10 more damage and gives your basic Pokemon 40 more HP. So Lapras turns into 230, Articuno turns into 160, Glaceon turns into 210, and Tauros turns into 220. And if you really got desperate, you could turn this into 150 and this into 160. We also have 1 copy of Super Rod to shuffle back any combination of 3 Pokemon and energy. 3 total of between all of that. And just in case you're not able to use Aqua Tube in a situation like maybe you're paralyzed or you're put to sleep or something, we do have 1 copy of Escape Rope. Each player switches his or her active Pokemon with one of his or her benched Pokemon. Your opponent switches first, and if you don't have any or if they don't have any, then there's no switching to be done other than the one person who played the card or the other person who has Pokemon to be switched out. All right, we also have 3 copies of Rough Seas. It's the stadium that makes sense here. Once during each player's turn, that player may heal 30 damage from one of his or her water Pokemon or electric Pokemon. In this case, it's water. Everything except for Tauros and Shaymin has access to Rough Seas, so it makes sense. And I mean, as bulky as you can make these Pokemon, it works really well in the deck, without a doubt. All right, now all we're left with is energy, which it's all going to be water energy. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 energy. In a deck where you do use a lot of energy, well, it only makes sense to have a lot of energy. And it's really going to help you get set up quickly. It's going to help your max elixirs hit faster and allow you to draw into energy a bit better. So as you can see, I mean, there's really not a lot of you know, 1-ofs in this deck, not a lot of tech cards. Most of them are 4-ofs, except for the usual Kukui, which is 1, N being 2, Lysander 2, and our usual 1-ofs of Escape Rope and Super Rod, but everything else is a 4 or a 3-of. So, I mean, it's very consistent, it's very standard in a way, but it gets the job done, and I feel like it's a very strong deck. Now, granted, it loses to anything that attacks with grass or metal, basically. So, I mean, it's a little bit tough on that end against Decidueye or something like that. But Lapras GX, definitely not a deck to be messed with. I think it's a very good contender going into Standard, from Guardians Rising on especially. But right now, I think it's still a solid tier 2.5, maybe tier 3 deck. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm looking forward to playing it come this next Friday. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you tune into Battle Frontier Friday after N profiles his next deck for Deck Tech Thursday. And hopefully you guys like this deck. And remember, you guys can build it for yourselves with singles from ccgcastle.com. So go and check them out for that. And, well, that's going to do it for today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you for everything you guys do for us, and we will see you later. You all take care and have a great day.